And we're looking at potentially much worse repercussions if we don't open the economy soon. And someone famous said, we can't have the cure be worse than the virus, on which it is turning out to be. We have put ourselves over $6 trillion in debt. We have added to our nearly $30 trillion debt. So we're going to be paying for this out the wazoo for years and years and years. And the loss of American freedoms is really staggering and frightening. Let's put it to you this way. The Patriot Act was passed in 2000, right after 2001, after September 11th, and just took away all of our American rights. For all you people out there that think you have freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that, the Patriot Act has stripped all of that away. Technically, the government and the president can honestly do worse than what they're doing in China if they really wanted to. The power is there for them and they can do it. They almost revoked the Patriot Act, but once they have that power, they're not going to give it up. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Whatever time you're watching this, thank you for watching Common Sense Talks. I really appreciate all the likes, views, and subscribes. Don't forget, smash that subscribe and like button. I really appreciate it. Now, let's just jump into today's video. As you can see by what's up on the screen, we're going to be having maybe some issues with our food supply. Now, this is happening in other areas of the world. You look at in Italy, just a while ago, they were having looting and organized attacks on the supermarkets by people on social media. They were organizing attacks to go into the supermarkets and literally just loot for food because the people were quarantined, locked down, broke, out of money, needing food, and then on top of that, the food is in short supply. So right now, if you go to Walmart, Food for Less, Save Mart, any of your local grocery stores, Albertsons, Kroger's, whatever, wherever you shop, you'll notice the food seems to be stocked pretty good. There's still a lot, there. However, what's going on is with the shutdown, and then the fear of the coronavirus. See, it's twofold. The shutdown is saying if you're not essential, we need you to go ahead and stay home. So you get a lot of people who are, let's say you got these big companies, Foster Farms, there's other companies. Maybe, I don't know about Foster Farms. That's a local one here I can probably check on for you guys. There's a story out of Delaware that a processing plant, due to the staff shortages, has not been able to handle the normal loads that they normally handle. So they normally process X amount of chickens for consumption. Now that those manpower is not there to process it, the chickens were still in the field, right? But you shutter the ability for them to process. Now you have all these chickens you can't do anything with. And you actually have stories of farmers killing and slaughtering or depopulating their chickens and their certain supplies of meat because there's nobody there to process it or do anything with it. And if they have too many, it actually wrecks their operation. So better for them to process what they can than not process anything at all, or to have unsafe, unsanitary conditions and other viruses and diseases spreading due to unsafe, unsanitary conditions. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the fear of the coronavirus. I believe has people calling in sick from work when they work at places that are, let's say, higher risk. You're going to have, I believe, a large factor of people using their sick days, vacation, or just plain old calling in sick. Not necessarily saying, hey, I got the coronavirus, but I can't make it for this or that. And there's also, I'm sure, people that are, shout out to all those essential workers out there who are toughing through this and working their butt off to keep everything going as much as it can be. But let's get into this here. So I want to go over the story. So we have a story out of Delaware here. Staffing shortage at Delaware chicken plant forcing growers to depopulate, dispose of millions of birds. So I want that to sink in for a second. So there's kind of like a delay in the way the supply and chain, the chain of supply and demand works. So if we don't have anybody out there processing our food, the people that make the Cheez-Its, the crackers, the chicken, the steak, whatever, all the different stuff that you buy at the store, there's less and less people in those factories producing that food, while the demand is still the same. We are going to have some issues. Now, this is here in America, not in a third world country. So let's jump right into this here. So Allen Harem Foods, a Delaware-based chicken company, is reportedly being forced to kill up to 2 million chickens before they can be slaughtered and packaged and processed for consumers. In a letter received by the company's livestock growers, Allen Harem said the chickens were being depopulated due to coronavirus-related staffing shortages at its processing plant, which is making it impossible to harvest the amount of birds they were previously able to handle. See where we're going with this? And here's another thing. Look at this. Woman attacks customer at supermarket over social distancing rule. You know, the fear, I think, is honestly more dangerous than the virus itself. We're shutting our economy down. People are just going stir crazy. They're attacking each other. You have all these other possible issues with the economy, the way that we all interact with each other. You have everybody on social media freaking out and afraid, saying, stay home, stay home. I want to talk about one thing. Now that I've looked at this whole process kind of from beginning to end, from January, December, when I was watching the YouTube videos, even in late November, early December, coming out of China. And then once it start hitting here and you see kind of the reaction, we're not sure, hey, is this thing serious and deadly, or is there something going on? Well, I want you to think about this. 20% of at least 20% of all coronavirus people that are sick with it do not show any symptoms. And a large portion of the other part have small or not that bad symptoms. And then a certain portion have very, very bad symptoms. So they're also not testing everybody. So say someone comes in, they're a little sick, but they don't need a ventilator. They have a fever, they have a cough, shortness of breath. They're not testing everybody. So if 100 people came in with all those symptoms, but they only admitted 30 of them because they're really, really bad, then they test those 30 and find 27 of them are sick. Out of the 70, let's say that they sent home, if we're using a pool of 100, out of the 70 that they sent home, half or more of those could be infected, but they were never tested. So the kill rate, so the deadliness of this virus is probably being much exaggerated, because if you look at it right now, it's less than 3%. We're talking in the 2% range. And if a huge portion of cases aren't being reported, aren't being tested. And another story I've seen is if you look at and this is shout out to Tim Pool, right? He's talking about how influenza deaths for the country are at zero. Like heart attack deaths or certain deaths at the country are at zero, which we'd normally have thousands from the normal flu and from everything else. So right now, doctors don't even have to test their patients. Say someone came in sick, they go on a ventilator, they die. Doctor can just write up COVID-19 and boom, there it goes. It could have actually been the regular flu, could have been any other number of things, COPD. So right now, I believe with the misreporting of numbers, the virus's kill rate is probably 1% or lower. And we're destroying our economy, we're destroying our lives, and we're looking at potentially much worse repercussions if we don't open the economy soon. And someone famous said, we can't have the cure be worse than the virus, on which it is turning out to be. We have put ourselves over $6 trillion in debt. We have added to our nearly $30 trillion debt. So we're going to be paying for this out the wazoo for years and years and years. And the loss of American freedoms is really staggering and frightening. Let's put it to you this way. The Patriot Act was passed in 2000, right after 2001, after September 11th, and just took away all of our American rights. For all you people out there that think you have freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that, the Patriot Act has stripped all of that away. Technically, the government and the president can honestly do worse than what they're doing in China if they really wanted to. The power is there for them and they can do it. They almost revoked the Patriot Act, but once they have that power, they're not going to give it up. So now that we've allowed our governments to officially put us under their thumb and stick us in our house, scare us, destroy our economy, wreck our and our children's and our grandchildren's financial futures over a virus with a less than 1% kill rate, maybe, or 1 to 2% kill rate, just blows my mind. So, anyways, let's get back into this story right here. Let's finish this up. So we got, let's start right here. Unfortunately, reduced placements will not make an impact for 6 weeks. And with the continued attendance decline and building bird inventory daily, we are forced to make a very difficult decision, wrote Michelle V. Minton, the director of live operations at Allen Harem. Minton's letter did not go into detail about how depopulation of growers' flocks would be handled, though the process allegedly began on April 10th, with Allen Harem reaching out to individual growers to share details. The company said farmers would be fairly compensated for the chickens. Fairly, like, kind of compensated. So, hey, we would have given you $5 or $3. Yeah, you get $1 now or whatever it is. So I think I skipped this sentence here, or paragraph. In the letter, which one Delaware grower confirmed to be legitimate to the Delaware News Journal, Allen Harem explained that only about 50% of its staff was still reporting for work. So let's put it to you that way. That's how powerful the fear is. I don't know if they probably being that they're essential and that food is very important and needed, I believe potentially that only 50% of its staff showing up is probably due to fear and not layoffs or work or job shortages. Let that sink in. All right. So PETA, meanwhile, has already reached out to Minton in an open letter published to the animal rights organization website, asking her to mandate that the chickens be killed as humanely as possible and using methods approved by the American Veterinary Medical Association for non-emergencies. PETA, go jump off a cliff. Nobody likes animal abusers. But if they really have to do it, whether it's a shot, gas, whatever it is, as long as they're not just stepping on them or something, I mean, just literally, you can grab them and break their neck. It's humane. It's quick. It's fast. I don't know what to tell you. Killing animals is not fun. But these millions of chickens don't deserve to be tossed into an old wood chipper or struck with a 2x4. I agree. I agree. So I do agree that animal cruelty is not cool, but PETA right? So as PETA is documented in other depopulation efforts. So let's see here. The law, veterinary guidance, and common decency all mandate that the chickens receive the quickest and least cruel death possible. Again, I agree. Completely agree with you there, PETA. So meanwhile, experts and executives in the meat industry continue to be concerned over the effect of the coronavirus on the nation's supply of food. Earlier this week, the president and CEO of Smithfield Foods, one of the nation's largest meat processing companies, has warned of severe, perhaps disastrous consequences for the country's meat supply chain following the closure of its South Dakota plant and several other meat processing plants due to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. You see what I'm saying? We're letting this little virus that, again, if you look at it scientifically and mathematically, it's probably got a kill rate of under 1% to about 1.5%, maybe 2%. We're just letting it wreck our lives, and gotta eat. So one of these days we're gonna have to kind of say, well, do I worry about this invisible thing that's 1 or 2% kill rate, or do I just sit here and starve and go broke, have no money, have no life, go crazy, can't go out of my house, can't go fishing, can't do anything, right? Kind of people aren't going to just sit around forever. And if we have no food, there's no work, there's going to be unrest, There's going to be looting, and there will be violence in the streets. Not by people like me, but do you expect? I mean, I got 4 kids. Honestly, if it came down to it, I'd load my vehicle up, head to the supermarket if I had no food stamps, no cash, no money, no availability, no. If it came down to it, I would take a baseball bat to yours for mine. I'm just being real. I mean, I would do anything I have to do to feed my family. And you don't think every other father or mother out there would be doing the same thing? I mean, we're not going to be going after people if we had to, right? We'd go down to the supermarket just like the Italians did. We'd go there and loot the supermarket and take what we needed. And if the police showed up to stop us, something bad's going to happen. I mean, you can't just have people starving and dying in the streets over what? It's crazy, folks. It's crazy. So let's keep reading. Story's almost done. The closure of this facility, combined with the growing list of other protein plants that have shuttered across our industry, is pushing our country perilously close to the edge in terms of our meat supply. The Delmarva Poultry Industry, a trade association with members in Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, told the Delaware News Journal it was also growing concerned after Alan Haram's depopulation news. So they're just talking about the meat. Let me ask you this. Do you think the fruit and vegetable processing plants are any different? Do you think that the cookeries and eateries that make things like granola bars and Cheez-Its and crackers and processed meats and cheeses and other things, do you think they're any different? Look at the other stories. I can also put other stories in here of all the milk being wasted, the dairy issues. It is not just meat. Pay attention to the news, not the fake news, and not what they're trying to distract you with. Look at the facts and look at the numbers. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be the end of the world, that things are going to fall apart, but I'm saying that something is going on here. This virus isn't what we're being told it is. It is not as deadly as they're saying, and we're just wrecking our lives over this. So leave a comment below. Let us know what you think, what's going on. Please try to keep it clean. And as always, we'll see you on the next video. And thank you for watching Common Sense Talks.